I don't know you, but today would have been your last day on Earth. No, no, and no. You took these bullets for me. I will protect you, no matter what. Do you hear me? It was 2:47 a.m. when Aria Johnson's life changed forever. She'd been restocking wine in the cellar beneath the Hwang mansion, a task she'd done 100 times before as the invisible American waitress nobody noticed. The marble staircase above her carried voices like an amplifier, and tonight, those voices belonged to men who dealt in death. Lee Min-sun has become a problem. Master Hwang's voice was cold as winter steel. Around him sat 6 men, his inner circle. Men who'd killed more people than they'd ever loved. Aria froze, a bottle of expensive Bordeaux clutched in her trembling hands. He's building an empire without bloodshed, another voice continued. Clean money. Legitimate businesses. Tech companies, biomedical research. The younger generation sees him as respectable. They want to be like him instead of us. He'll overtake us within 2 years if we don't act, a third man added. The gala night. 3 days from now. We do it in front of everyone. Send a message that reform gets you killed. Master Hwang's response was simple, final. Lee Min-sun dies in 3 days. The vision hit Aria like lightning. It always happened this way, her gift, her curse, the thing that made her different since she was 7 years old. Reality blurred. Time folded. And suddenly she was there, 3 days in the future, watching it happen. A man in an expensive suit. Clean cut, maybe 32, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Standing at the gala entrance, shaking hands, completely unaware. Then, gunshots. Blood blooming across his chest like red flowers. Women screaming. Champagne glasses shattering. A good man dying because he dared to be good in a world that rewarded monsters. Aria came back to herself gasping, the wine bottle slipping from her hands and exploding on the cellar floor. The voices above went silent. What was that? Someone hissed. Footsteps on the stairs. Aria ran, through the servants' corridors, out the back entrance, into Seoul's pre-dawn streets. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs gave out. She ran until she was sure nobody followed. But she couldn't run from what she'd seen. Aria Johnson had learned 3 things about herself by age 7, she was different, she was dangerous, and she could never tell anyone why. The vision started small. Her grandmother's fall before it happened, Aria screaming no, 3 seconds before Grandma missed the step. The car accident at the intersection, Aria yanking her mother back onto the sidewalk just before the red sedan ran the light. People called it intuition. Good instincts. Lucky timing. But Aria knew better. By 23, she'd learned to live with the weight of knowing things she wished she didn't. She'd learned that most visions couldn't be changed, they were inevitable, fixed points in time's river. She'd learned that trying to stop them usually made things worse. And she'd learned that being the girl who somehow always knows made her unemployable, undateable, and utterly alone. So she came to Seoul. Started over. Became invisible, just another foreign face serving drinks to Korea's wealthy elite. The Hwang family hired her because she was expendable. Because foreign staff asked fewer questions. Because she kept her mouth shut and her eyes down. Until the night she heard Master Hwang order a murder. Until the night she decided, for once, to fight fate itself. You're asking dangerous questions, girl. Park Ji-soo was 70 years old, had been the Hwang family's head cook for 30 years, and possessed the kind of wisdom that came from surviving in a world that killed the careless. She found Aria the next morning, shaking and sleepless in the servants' quarters. Lee Min-sun, Aria whispered. Who is he? Where can I find him? Jisoo's face went pale. How do you know that name? Please. I don't have much time. The elderly woman studied Aria with sharp eyes that had seen too much. Finally, she sighed. Lee Min-sun is different. 32 years old, self-made billionaire. Runs tech companies, biomedical research, legitimate import-export businesses. Clean money, clean reputation. He's part of the new generation, young entrepreneurs trying to rebuild Korea's economy without corruption. That's why the Hwang family wants him dead, Aria breathed. Child. Jisoo grabbed her wrist, grip surprisingly strong. Whatever you're thinking, stop. Master Hwang has killed people for less than asking questions. Lee Min-sun's security is tighter than the president's. You can't reach him. You can't save him. And if they find out you know. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. They'll kill you. Slowly. But Aria had already seen her own death. The vision had come the moment she decided to interfere, a flash of her body riddled with bullets, blood spreading across white cloth. The image didn't scare her. Doing nothing scared her. I have to try, Aria said simply. Why? Jisoo's eyes searched hers. Why would you die for a stranger? Aria thought about the vision of Lee Min-sun dying. The kindness in his eyes. The goodness that got him murdered. The future he represented, a Korea built on innovation instead of intimidation, on merit instead of murder. Because some people are worth saving, she said. Even if it costs everything. 2 days. She had 2 days to figure out how to save a man she'd never met. Lee Min-sun's security was legendary. Armed guards, background checks, facial recognition at his properties. Aria couldn't get near him through normal channels, and even if she could, what would she say? Hi, I'm a waitress with psychic visions, and by the way, you're going to be assassinated tomorrow night? She'd be arrested or institutionalized before finishing the sentence. No. She needed something different. Something so crazy, so unexpected, that it would force Lee Min-sun to pay attention before it was too late. That's when she remembered her mother's words from childhood, sometimes, baby, the only way to be seen is to make yourself impossible to ignore. Aria spent her last paycheck on supplies. White poster board. Red permanent marker. The kind that didn't smudge or fade. And at 6:47 p.m. on the night of the gala, she positioned herself outside the crystal gates of the Grand Joseon Hotel, where Korea's elite gathered, where Lee Min-sun would arrive in exactly 13 minutes, where Hwang family assassins waited in the shadows. She sat in the gutter. Pressed the white placard against her chest. And wrote in bold red letters. Lee Min-sun. I love you. She looked insane. She felt insane. But it was the only way. Get lost, black girl. Security guard Kim recognized her immediately, one of the Hwang mansion's serving staff, sitting in a gutter outside Seoul's most exclusive event. His hand moved toward his concealed weapon. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't. His eyes landed on the placard. On the name. What are you doing? I'm not moving, Aria said, her voice steadier than she felt. You don't understand what you're interfering with. I understand perfectly. Aria met his eyes. And I'm not moving. Kim spoke urgently into his radio. More guards appeared. Wealthy guests arriving for the gala stared, whispered, then hurried past, pretending not to see the crying woman with the sign. Rolls-Royces and Bentleys glided by like sharks. Aria's legs cramped. Her heart hammered. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But she'd seen what happened if she did nothing. 1 hour passed. Then 2. And then he arrived. Lee Min-sun stepped out of a midnight blue Mercedes-Benz S-Class, and the world seemed to pause. He wasn't what Aria expected. No army of bodyguards. No arrogance or cold distance. Just a man in his early 30s wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, with dark hair styled simply and eyes that held both intelligence and unexpected gentleness. He started toward the hotel entrance, then stopped. His gaze landed on Aria. On the placard pressed against her chest. On his own name written in desperate red letters. Security moved to intercept, to remove the crazy woman before she could embarrass everyone. But Lee Min-sun raised one hand, stopping them. He walked toward her. Crouched beside her in the gutter, his expensive suit touching Seoul's dirty pavement. Hi. Aria sobbed, unable to form coherent words through her tears and terror. Who are you? His voice was soft, concerned, genuinely worried. Not the voice of a man who expected death. What's wrong? Why do you have my name? Are you Lee Min's son? Aria managed. Yeah. He nodded slowly. But I don't know you. How do you? Run. Aria screamed. Everything happened at once. 6 men materialized from the shadows, Hwang family assassins dressed as hotel security, weapons raised, silencers attached. The head operative barked into his earpiece, target acquired. Eliminate both. Lee Min's son's eyes went wide, not with fear, but with instant understanding. Years of navigating Korea's dangerous business world had trained him to recognize a threat the moment it appeared. He grabbed Aria's hand. My car, now. They sprinted. Crack. The first bullet sparked off a marble column inches from Lee's head. Crack. Crack. More bullets. A valet dove for cover. Hotel guests screamed and scattered. Aria's lungs burned as they reached the Mercedes, but her vision, her curse, showed her the trajectory before it happened. The bullet meant for Lee's head. She stepped in front of him. Crack. 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 White-hot agony exploded through her chest. Her shoulder. Her side. 3 bullets punching through flesh and bone. Aria collapsed into the car's back seat, blood already pooling beneath her. Move. Go. 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 Lee screamed at his driver. The Mercedes peeled out, tires shrieking. More gunfire. The rear window exploded. But they were accelerating, weaving through traffic, the driver, clearly trained for exactly this scenario, taking corners at speeds that should have been impossible. In the back seat, Lee Min's son pressed his hands desperately against Aria's wounds, trying to stop the bleeding that poured between his fingers like a red river. Stay with me, he commanded. Look at me. What's your name? Tell me your name. Aria. She whispered, darkness creeping in from the edges of her vision. Aria Johnson. Aria. Beautiful name. His voice cracked with emotion, this stranger who was trying to save her life the way she'd just saved his. Why? Why did you do this? You don't know me. Through fading consciousness, Aria smiled, the peaceful smile of someone who'd made the right choice, no matter the cost. I don't know you. She whispered. But today would have been your last day on Earth. No, no, and no. Tears streamed down Lee's face as he felt her pulse weakening beneath his fingertips. You took these bullets for me. I will protect you, no matter what. Do you hear me? I will protect you. You're not dying. I won't let you die. But Aria's eyes closed. Her hand went limp in his. And Lee Min's son screamed into the Seoul night, a sound of grief and rage and desperate, helpless terror. 3 weeks later. The first thing Aria felt was pain. Not the immediate, agonizing sensation of bullets tearing through flesh, that had been 3 weeks ago. This was different. A deep, persistent ache that radiated from her chest with every breath, reminding her that she was alive when she shouldn't be. The second thing she noticed was the hand holding hers. Aria's eyes fluttered open to soft morning light filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. The room was pristine, white walls, state-of-the-art medical equipment, the faint scent of jasmine from fresh flowers on the windowsill. This wasn't a regular hospital. The machines were too advanced, the privacy too absolute. And beside her bed, slumped in a chair with dark circles under his eyes, was Lee Min's son. He looked different from the polished businessman at the gala. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his designer suit rumpled from days of wear. Stubble shadowed his jaw. But his hand held hers like she was the most precious thing in the world, even in sleep. You're staring, he mumbled without opening his eyes, a tired smile crossing his face. You're still here, Aria whispered, her voice hoarse from disuse. Lee's eyes opened then, and the relief that flooded them made Aria's chest tighten, and not from her injuries. "You're awake." He sat up quickly, moving closer, his free hand coming up to gently touch her face as if confirming she was real. "Oh God, you're actually awake." Tears spilled down his cheeks. "I told you," he said, his voice breaking. "I told you I would protect you, no matter what. That includes making sure you wake up." His thumb traced gentle circles on her palm. "You've been unconscious for 22 days. The doctors said, they said it could go either way. That you might never." He couldn't finish the sentence. "Why?" The question escaped before Aria could stop it. "Why stay? You don't know me." Lee's expression grew serious, intense. "You took 3 bullets meant for me. You stood at those gates with my name on your chest, crying, warning a complete stranger that he was about to die." He leaned forward, his dark eyes searching hers with desperate need to understand. "Who does that? Who risks everything for someone they've never met?" "Someone who sees things they wish they didn't," Aria said quietly. Lee went still. "What do you mean? Tell me first." Aria's voice was weak but determined. "How did you know? To run? Most people would have thought I was crazy, would have called security and walked away. But you grabbed my hand and ran. Why?" Lee was quiet for a long moment, studying her face. Finally, he spoke. "Because 3 weeks ago, the night before the gala, I had a dream. A woman I'd never met, with your face, standing between me and death. She was crying. She had my name written on something white. And she saved my life." He paused. "When I saw you at those gates, I thought I was losing my mind. But then you screamed run and I saw the guns and I just knew. Somehow I knew you were telling the truth." "Your mother," Aria whispered suddenly, another vision flickering. "She had it too. The gift. She predicted her own death 3 days before it happened when you were 16. Lee's face went white. "How could you possibly know that?" "I've never told anyone. Because I have it too." Aria's eyes filled with tears. The visions. The curse. The burden of knowing death's schedule while being powerless to change it. "I saw you die, Lee Min-sun. I saw the Hwang family murder you at that gala. And I couldn't let it happen. Tell me." It wasn't a demand. It was an invitation. A plea. So Aria told him everything, the visions that started when she was 7. Her grandmother's fall. The car accidents. The countless tragedies she'd witnessed in her mind before they happened in reality. The loneliness of carrying knowledge no one believed. The years of being called crazy, disturbed, attention-seeking. The night she overheard Master Hwang order Lee's assassination. The vision of his death, so vivid, so certain, so absolutely preventable if only someone cared enough to try. "Most of my visions can't be changed," Aria explained, her voice growing stronger as she spoke. "They're fixed points. Inevitable. But some, rare ones, have flexibility. Multiple paths. Yours was one of them. I saw you die in most futures. But in a few." She met his eyes. "In a few, there was a woman. Always the same woman. Standing between you and the bullets. Changing the trajectory. Rewriting fate through sheer will." "You," Lee breathed. "Me," Aria confirmed. "I saw myself save you. And I saw myself die doing it. But I also saw a narrow path, so narrow, requiring perfect timing, where we both survived. So I took the chance." Lee was silent for a long moment, processing the impossible. Then he laughed, not with disbelief, but with wonder. "My mother," he said softly, "used to tell me that some people are born with gifts they don't ask for. She believed the universe chose certain souls to carry burdens others couldn't." His voice cracked slightly. "She told me the night before she died that someday, someone would save my life, and I should listen to them no matter how impossible their words seemed. She said I would know her because she would wear my name. Aria's breath caught. She saw me? She saw something. Someone. Lee's grip on her hand tightened. I think she saw you. Recovery was slower than Aria expected. The bullets had done catastrophic damage. One had grazed her lung, another had shattered a rib, and the third had lodged millimeters from her spine. Dr. Park, an elderly surgeon with kind eyes and absolutely no tolerance for self-pity, explained that Aria's survival was, clinically speaking, miraculous. A few millimeters to the right, and you'd never walk again, Dr. Park said during one examination. A few millimeters the other direction, and you would have bled out before reaching the hospital. You were absurdly lucky. Lucky, Aria repeated hollowly, staring at the scars crisscrossing her torso in the mirror after the doctor left. You're alive. Lee's reflection appeared behind hers. He'd taken to visiting every day, sometimes twice a day, always bringing something. Books. Music. Stories from the outside world. That's more than luck. That's will. Is it? Aria turned to face him, suddenly angry, at fate, at her gift, at the universe that had put her in this impossible situation. Or did I just see my own survival and make sure it happened? Maybe there's no free will at all. Maybe we're all just acting out visions, playing predetermined roles in. Gunfire. Someone shouted from the hallway. Lee reacted instantly. Years of navigating Korea's dangerous underworld had honed his reflexes to razor sharpness. He pulled Aria behind him as the door burst open and his security team flooded in, 6 men in black suits, weapons drawn, forming a protective barrier around them. Sir, we have a situation, Jay, the head of security, a stern-faced man with a scar across his jaw, reported urgently. 3 armed men breached the lower levels. They're asking for the American woman by name. Aria's blood ran cold. The Hwang family. They found you, Lee said grimly, his mind already calculating escape routes. He turned to Jay. Initiate Protocol 7. I want her moved to the safe house within 10 minutes. Deploy the decoy convoy and. I can't walk that fast, Aria protested, gesturing at her still healing body, the 4 lines, the bandages. I'll slow you down. Leave me, Anne. Lee's expression shifted, something fierce and protective flashing across his face. Not happening. Before Aria could argue, he scooped her up effortlessly, cradling her against his chest like she weighed nothing. His arms were surprisingly strong beneath the expensive suits he always wore. Then I'll carry you, he said simply. The evacuation was organized chaos. Lee's security team moved with military precision, guiding them through service corridors and hidden passages Aria didn't know existed. Every corner made her flinch. Every shadow was a potential threat. The sound of gunfire echoed behind them, Jay's men holding the line, buying them precious seconds. Why? Aria whispered against Lee's shoulder as they descended a narrow stairwell, his heartbeat steady beneath her ear. Why are they so desperate to kill me? Because you're a witness, Lee explained, taking the steps carefully to avoid jostling her wounds. You can testify about the assassination attempt. You overheard Master Hwang's orders. More importantly, he met her eyes. You're proof that someone cared enough to interfere. That terrifies them more than any police investigation. You represent the one thing they can't control, someone willing to sacrifice everything to stop them. They reached an underground parking garage where an armored SUV waited, engine running. Lee deposited Aria gently in the back seat before climbing in beside her. The moment the doors closed, the driver, a woman in her 40s with ice in her eyes, accelerated, tires squealing against concrete. Aria watched through tinted windows as Seoul blurred past, the city she'd called home for 3 years but never truly belonged to. Neon lights reflected off rain-slicked streets. Late-night crowds parted around the speeding vehicle. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that a shadow war raged beneath the surface. Where are we going? Aria asked. Somewhere they'll never find you, Lee promised, his hand finding hers in the darkness. Somewhere safe. The safe house turned out to be a traditional hanok tucked into the mountains outside Seoul, ancient architecture disguising cutting-edge security. Stone walls that looked centuries old but contained ballistic plating. Curved tile roofs hiding surveillance equipment. A tranquil courtyard with a koi pond that was actually a sophisticated sensor grid. Lee carried Aria inside, past guards stationed at discreet intervals, into a bedroom with heated floors and silk bedding that looked like something from a historical drama. "You'll stay here until it's safe," he said, setting her down carefully on the bed. "My team will protect you 24/7. You'll have everything you need: medical care, food, entertainment, privacy." "Will I have you?" The question escaped before Aria could stop it. Lee froze, his hand still on her shoulder. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Aria could see the conflict playing across his face: duty versus desire, protection versus connection. Finally, slowly, he knelt beside the bed so they were eye level. "Aria," he said quietly, "I'm the reason you're in danger. The Hwang family wants you dead because of me. Because you saved me. Every second you stay close to me, you're at risk. The smart thing, the right thing, would be to put you somewhere far away where—" "I was already at risk the moment I saw the vision," Aria interrupted. "The moment I decided to interfere with fate. At least with you, I'm not facing it alone." Something shifted in Lee's expression, a wall crumbling, a decision being made. "You don't know what you're asking," he said, but his voice had changed, become vulnerable in a way she hadn't heard before. "My life is complicated. Dangerous. I'm not just fighting the Hwang family. I'm trying to rebuild an entire system. There are politicians who want me dead. Crime families who see me as a threat. Business rivals who would kill to eliminate the competition." He paused. "Everyone I get close to becomes a target." "I know," Aria said simply. "I saw that too. The men in expensive suits who smile while planning your murder. The politicians who take your money and plot your downfall. The woman you loved who turned out to be a spy. I saw all of it." Lee's eyes widened in shock. "How?" "Because I see you," Aria said, reaching out to touch his face. "Not the empire you're building or the enemies you're making. I see who you could become if you survive. A man who changes everything, not through violence or corruption, but through stubborn, impossible integrity. That's why I couldn't let you die." "And what about you?" Lee asked, his hand covering hers on his cheek. "What did you see for yourself?" Aria smiled sadly. "I saw loneliness. Years of carrying this gift alone, pushing people away because getting close means watching them suffer and being unable to stop it. I saw myself growing old and invisible, always knowing, never connecting." She paused. "Until you. Until I saw that saving you meant saving myself." When Lee opened his eyes, there were tears in them. "I don't deserve you," he whispered. "Probably not," Aria agreed with a small smile. "But you're stuck with me now." He laughed, a real laugh, rough with emotion, and pressed his forehead against hers. "Then I'll spend the rest of my life earning that sacrifice." And there, in a safe house hidden in the Korean mountains, Lee Min-sun kissed her. It started gentle, a question, an offering, a promise. Then deepened, became more urgent, as if they were both trying to prove they were real, solid, alive despite everything trying to kill them. When they finally broke apart, breathless, Aria smiled. "I didn't see that coming." Lee laughed, the sound lighter than she'd ever heard from him. "Good. Let some things be a surprise." The mountains were peaceful, but Lee Min-sun was not a man who could sit still while threats loomed. Over the next 2 weeks, as Aria continued to heal, the safe house transformed into something else entirely. Lee's team set up computers, secure phones, surveillance equipment. Maps of Seoul covered the walls, red pins marking Hwang family operations. Files and photographs spread across every surface, decades of crimes documented, waiting for the right moment to strike. Aria watched from the heated bedroom floor where she practiced physical therapy exercises, simple stretches that left her breathless and aching. Coach Kim, a former Olympic trainer Lee had hired, had absolutely no patience for self-pity. Again, Coach Kim commanded as Aria attempted to lift her arm above her head. The muscle memory is there. Your body just needs to remember it's not dead. My body remembers getting shot, Aria muttered, but she tried again. This time, her arm rose a few inches higher. Small victories. Lee appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand, but his attention immediately shifted to Aria's progress. Pride flickered across his face, the same pride she'd seen when she managed to walk unaided yesterday, when she could finally breathe without gasping. You're getting stronger, he observed. Strong enough to be useful? Aria countered, lowering her arm carefully. Or am I still the protected asset who needs to stay out of the way? Lee's expression grew complicated. You're not. I can help, Aria insisted, gesturing at the war room visible through the open door. You're planning something. I can see it in how you move, how you talk on the phone at 3 a.m. thinking I'm asleep. Let me help. It's dangerous. Everything about this situation is dangerous, Aria pointed out. At least if I'm involved, I might see something that could save lives. Isn't that the whole point of this curse? For a long moment, Lee studied her, weighing risks, calculating odds. Aria could see him making the decision, breaking his own rules about keeping her safe versus using the weapon she'd become. Finally, he sighed. Come with me. He helped her stand, supporting her as they walked into the war room. Jay and 3 other team members looked up from their work, surprise flickering across their faces at seeing the protected asset entering their domain. Everyone, this is Aria Johnson, Lee announced, his tone brooking no argument. She's the reason I'm alive, and she's not just someone we're protecting. She's part of this team now. Jay frowned, his scar twisting. Sir, with respect, she's a civilian. She's untrained. She's a seer, Lee interrupted quietly. She predicted the assassination attempt. She knows things we don't. Things we can't know without her. He looked at Aria. Tell them what you told me. About the man in the gray suit. Aria took a breath, suddenly aware of all eyes on her. In her recovery, new visions had come, fragments, glimpses, pieces of a larger puzzle clicking into place. There's someone inside your organization, she said, her voice steady despite her nervousness. Someone close enough to know your movements. He wears expensive gray suits, custom-tailored. Has a scar behind his left ear, small, maybe from a childhood accident. And he reports directly to Master Hwang's second son. The room went deathly silent. Jay's expression shifted from skepticism to alarm. That describes Kim Sung-ho perfectly. He's been with us for 8 months. Came highly recommended from, he stopped, realization dawning. From a security firm the Hwang family has financial ties to. Jesus. He's the leak, Aria confirmed. I saw him in a vision last night. Making a phone call, speaking in code. Something about the mountain house and waiting for the right moment. He doesn't know exactly where we are yet, but he's narrowing the search. Lee's jaw tightened, fury controlled but visible. They know we're in the mountains. Not exactly, Aria amended. In the vision, he was guessing. Using elimination. There are dozens of properties in these mountains. But yes, he will find us. Soon. The team moved with impressive speed. Within an hour, Kim Sung-ho was isolated, his communications monitored without his knowledge. Within 3 hours, they had confirmed everything, intercepted messages between Kim and a Hwang family attorney, discussing search patterns, payment schedules, contingency plans. How did you know? Jay asked Aria later, his earlier skepticism transformed into something close to awe. Even our own internal affairs couldn't prove he was dirty. We've been suspicious for weeks but had no evidence. I don't know how it works, Aria admitted, sitting in the war room while Lee coordinated with law enforcement contacts. I just see. Like watching a movie that hasn't been filmed yet, but I'm not always the director. Sometimes I'm just a viewer. She looked at Lee across the room, his focus intense as he built the case that would bring down the Hwang family. It's not always clear. Sometimes I see outcomes without understanding the path. Other times, it's vivid, detailed, like that night at the gala. The night you saved him, Jay said quietly, his respect now evident. Ma'am, I owe you an apology. When we evacuated the hospital, I thought you were a liability. Dead weight. I advised sir to put you somewhere remote and forget about you. He paused. I was wrong. You're the most valuable asset we have. I'm not an asset, Aria said firmly. I'm just afraid. Afraid of what I'll see next, afraid I'll be too late, afraid that this gift is more curse than blessing. She smiled sadly. But I'm trying to use it for something good. For once in my life, I want the visions to matter. Jay nodded slowly. For what it's worth, ma'am, I'm glad you're here. Sir needs someone who sees him, really sees him. Not just the empire he's building or the war he's fighting. He needs someone who sees the man. That night, Aria found Lee standing by the koi pond, his reflection rippling in the moonlit water. The temperature had dropped, autumn chill settling over the mountains, but he didn't seem to notice. His suit jacket was gone, shirt sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. He looked exhausted and beautiful and utterly lost. You should be resting, he said without turning around. So should you. Aria approached carefully, her body still protesting movement but growing stronger each day. Jay told me you haven't slept more than 3 hours in the past week. I'll sleep when you're safe. Lee. Aria stepped beside him, their shoulders almost touching. The koi moved lazily beneath the surface, unaware of the human drama unfolding above them. You can't protect me from everything. The Hwang family, the visions, fate itself, some things are bigger than even you. He turned to her then, and in the moonlight, she saw the exhaustion etched into his features. The weight of responsibility he carried like armor. The fear he tried so hard to hide. You don't understand, he said, his voice rough. I built everything, my company, my reputation, my plans to reform the system, on the belief that I could control outcomes. That with enough resources and determination, I could shape the future. His voice cracked slightly. Then you appeared with my name on your chest, and you showed me that some futures can't be controlled. Only survived. Aria took his hand, lacing their fingers together. Or changed. You're forgetting that part. I saw you die, and I changed it. At nearly the cost of your own life. But I'm still here, Aria insisted, squeezing his hand. We both are. Doesn't that mean something? That maybe the visions aren't fixed. That maybe we have more power than we think. Lee pulled her closer, wrapping his arms around her carefully, always mindful of her healing injuries. You terrify me, he whispered against her hair. Not because of what you can see, but because of what you make me feel. I've spent my entire adult life avoiding attachments, keeping people at a distance because closeness is vulnerability in my world. Everyone I've loved has been used against me or has betrayed me or has died. His arms tightened fractionally. But you walked into death for me without hesitation. How do I protect someone who doesn't protect themselves? You don't, Aria said simply, wrapping her arms around his waist. You just stand beside them and hope you're both strong enough for whatever comes next. They stood like that for a long time, two people who'd collided in impossible circumstances, trying to find stability in chaos. The mountain night settled around them, peaceful and cold and achingly beautiful. Finally, Lee spoke again. I'm going after them. The Hwang family. Everything they've built, every crime they've committed, I'm tearing it all down. It's going to be dangerous, messy, and there's a good chance I won't survive it. I know, Aria said. I saw that too. He pulled back to look at her, surprise and resignation warring on his face. And you're still here? Where else would I be? She smiled. Besides, in that vision, you don't survive alone. You survive because someone stands with you. Someone who sees the paths and helps you navigate them. She paused. I think that someone is me. Lee's expression shifted, surprise giving way to hope giving way to fear all over again. You've seen the outcome? Outcomes, Aria corrected carefully. Multiple paths, multiple possibilities. This isn't a fixed point vision. It's fluid, changeable. In some futures, you win but lose yourself in the process, become as ruthless as the people you're fighting. In others, the Hwang family destroys everything you've built before you can stop them. She met his eyes. But there's one path, narrow, difficult, requiring perfect timing and impossible luck, where you dismantle their empire and survive with your soul intact. Where we both do. Tell me how, Lee demanded urgently. Tell me what to do. I can't. Not yet. The vision isn't complete. Frustration bled into Aria's voice. It's like watching a movie through a keyhole. I see moments, critical choices, but not the full picture. But I'm seeing more every day as I heal. Pieces connecting. When we evacuated the hospital, I thought you were a liability. Dead weight. I advised Sir to put you somewhere remote and forget about you. He paused. I was wrong. You're the most valuable asset we have. I'm not an asset, Aria said firmly. I'm just afraid. Afraid of what I'll see next, afraid I'll be too late, afraid that this gift is more curse than blessing. She smiled sadly. But I'm trying to use it for something good. For once in my life, I want the visions to matter. Jay nodded slowly. For what it's worth, ma'am, I'm glad you're here. Sir needs someone who sees him, really sees him. Not just the empire he's building or the war he's fighting. He needs someone who sees the man. That night, Aria found Lee standing by the koi pond, his reflection rippling in the moonlit water. The temperature had dropped, autumn chill settling over the mountains, but he didn't seem to notice. His suit jacket was gone, shirt sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. He looked exhausted and beautiful and utterly lost. You should be resting, he said without turning around. So should you. Aria approached carefully, her body still protesting movement but growing stronger each day. Jay told me you haven't slept more than 3 hours in the past week. I'll sleep when you're safe. Lee. Aria stepped beside him, their shoulders almost touching. The koi moved lazily beneath the surface, unaware of the human drama unfolding above them. You can't protect me from everything. The Hwang family, the visions, fate itself, some things are bigger than even you. He turned to her then, and in the moonlight, she saw the exhaustion etched into his features. The weight of responsibility he carried like armor. The fear he tried so hard to hide. You don't understand, he said, his voice rough. I built everything, my company, my reputation, my plans to reform the system, on the belief that I could control outcomes. That with enough resources and determination, I could shape the future. His voice cracked slightly. Then you appeared with my name on your chest, and you showed me that some futures can't be controlled. Only survived. Aria took his hand, lacing their fingers together. Or changed. You're forgetting that part. I saw you die, and I changed it. At nearly the cost of your own life. But I'm still here, Aria insisted, squeezing his hand. We both are. Doesn't that mean something? That maybe the visions aren't fixed. That maybe we have more power than we think. Lee pulled her closer, wrapping his arms around her carefully, always mindful of her healing injuries. You terrify me, he whispered against her hair. Not because of what you can see, but because of what you make me feel. I've spent my entire adult life avoiding attachments, keeping people at a distance because closeness is vulnerability in my world. Everyone I've loved has been used against me or has betrayed me or has died. His arms tightened fractionally. But you walked into death for me without hesitation. How do I protect someone who doesn't protect themselves? You don't, Aria said simply, wrapping her arms around his waist. You just stand beside them and hope you're both strong enough for whatever comes next. They stood like that for a long time, two people who'd collided in impossible circumstances, trying to find stability in chaos. The mountain night settled around them, peaceful and cold and achingly beautiful. Finally, Lee spoke again. I'm going after them. The Hwang family. Everything they've built, every crime they've committed, I'm tearing it all down. It's going to be dangerous, messy, and there's a good chance I won't survive it. I know, Aria said. I saw that too. He pulled back to look at her, surprise and resignation warring on his face. And you're still here? Where else would I be? She smiled. Besides, in that vision, you don't survive alone. You survive because someone stands with you. Someone who sees the paths and helps you navigate them. She paused. I think that someone is me. Lee's expression shifted, surprise giving way to hope giving way to fear all over again. You've seen the outcome? Outcomes, Aria corrected carefully. Multiple paths, multiple possibilities. This isn't a fixed point vision. It's fluid, changeable. In some futures, you win but lose yourself in the process, become as ruthless as the people you're fighting. In others, the Hwang family destroys everything you've built before you can stop them. She met his eyes. But there's one path, narrow, difficult, requiring perfect timing and impossible luck, where you dismantle their empire and survive with your soul intact. Where we both do. Tell me how, Lee demanded urgently. Tell me what to do. I can't. Not yet. The vision isn't complete. Frustration bled into Aria's voice. It's like watching a movie through a keyhole. I see moments, critical choices, but not the full picture. But I'm seeing more every day as I heal. Pieces connecting. Patterns emerging. Lee cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing her cheekbones with infinite gentleness. Then we'll figure it out together. You see the future, I'll build the present, and somehow we'll make it to tomorrow. Together, Aria agreed. And there, beside a koi pond in the Korean mountains, with assassins hunting them and empires on the verge of war, Lee Min-sun son kissed her again. This time it was different, not desperate or questioning, but certain. A promise sealed in the space between heartbeats. A vow that whatever came next, they would face it as one. When they finally broke apart, Aria rested her forehead against his. I have one more vision to share. What do you see? Us, she whispered. 6 months from now. Standing on a rooftop in Seoul. The Hwang Empire in ruins. You're holding my hand. And you're smiling. She paused. I've never seen you smile like that, like you're finally free. Lee's eyes glistened with unshed tears. That's the future I want. Then let's make it happen. If you loving this story, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling us, would you take 3 bullets for a stranger? What would you sacrifice for love? And where are you watching from? This is Nova Tales TV, where every story proves that fate can be rewritten, love can be found in chaos, and sometimes, the stranger whose name you wear becomes your entire future.